I tried to stop our wallets from bleeding by recreating my autistic boyfriend's expensive safe stew at home, but I found out it uses tomato paste and accidentally blew up our relationship by ruining the one food he trusted. Posted by you/Stewless in Seattle. My boyfriend loves stew. He wants to eat it every day for every meal. His favorite stew is beef tips and vegetables from a local place, but it's really expensive. Like $47 for a big bowl. They don't do small orders for takeout, and he is grossed out by leftovers, so more than half of it gets wasted. We've had a couple of arguments about it. He says I don't understand his brain. I say he doesn't understand our budget. Recently, I looked up some recipes, including doing a dissection of the takeout soup, and tried my hand at making a home-cooked replacement for stew night. He loved it for a few days, and then one night he was hanging out with me in the kitchen and saw me put tomato paste into the pot. He was really upset and demanded that I make the soup without the paste. I told him it wouldn't taste the same, and he said it would be better because he hates tomatoes, they're not a safe food for him. So I made the soup with no tomato paste, and big surprise, something felt off about it to him. Instead of admitting that the tomato paste was necessary, he threw a fit and told me he didn't want home-cooked food anymore if I was going to play with him and not take his safe foods seriously. He thinks I changed more than just the tomato paste in an effort to get him to admit he was wrong. $400 in stew orders later, I had an idea to ask the chef when we were picking up the order if there was any tomato product in the stew, and lo and behold, there is tomato in the recipe, effing tomato paste. In my mind, this was great because I thought he would get over it if he knew his original perfect stew had tomato paste, like oh I guess tomato paste isn't so bad then, but it was the exact opposite. He walked out of the restaurant without saying anything and then refused to eat the stew that night and hasn't ordered it again. He's been ignoring me, sulking around the house, using his whiny voice a lot, and slamming things. His sister also texted me to tell me I'm a selfish jerk for needing to get back at him by taking his favorite food away. I literally just wanted to stop spending insane amounts of money on stew. I wasn't trying to hurt him or ruin his life. I'm not autistic, I can't really wrap my head around caring this much about a single ingredient. I genuinely didn't see this reaction coming. We've been together for 4 years, and he's only had 3 other fits like this. The other ones were pretty reasonable. Those were also a little less intense and didn't include input from his family. This is the first time anyone in his family has ever spoken to me like this. So I've been back and forth between y'all are overreacting and what have I done? Am I the jerk? It sounds so dumb when I write it all out, but living it has made me feel physically sick with regret. I can't think straight anymore. Top/relevant comments. Op adds an edit to her post. I'm getting ready for work right now, so I can't respond to individual comments, but there's some recurring confusion/questions I wanted to clear up because it might affect the answers. 1. The stew place is a catering place with a mini restaurant, so every time we order takeout, we're ordering a catering amount pretty much. It's not stew made of gold lol. 2. We order from there 2 to 3 nights a week. It's not the only thing he eats, it's just the top 5 foods for him. He doesn't eat this unreasonably every single day. 3. He has a job and contributes with money. I'm not funding his entire diet. We do mix money, so even though he pays for the meal half the time, it does still feel like we're losing money. He works part-time and I work full-time, bills are probably split 70-30. Additional info from Op. Editor's note, these are Op's answers to a lot of questions commenters had. I'm 26 and he is about to turn 33. 70% my income, 30% his, rent, utilities, food, streaming services, etc., included. We have a mutual account where checks get deposited that bills auto-pay from, and then we each have a private account for savings and debt. He makes less money than me, and he also has more debt from prior to our relationship, school, car, private loan, so he puts in a lot less. There's no such thing as his fun money, he makes less than we pay in food overall. If I told him to pay his own way, he'd starve to death. It just wouldn't work. He also refuses to work more hours. He's trying to run a side gig that takes up a considerable amount of time, and working full-time on top of it would squash that. He'd rather move back in with his parents than work full-time, it's something he's drawn a line in the sand about. When he first blew up on me about putting tomato paste in the stew at home, I told him that pretty much all of the recipes online included tomato paste, that I wasn't trying to mess with him, I was just trying to make it as close as possible to what he likes. He told me that was a BS excuse because what I like is the stew from the catering place, if you can't make that then don't bother, and I told him that the catering place probably makes the stew the same way. He told me that he would be able to tell if there was tomato in that stew, and we had sort of a we'll see ending to that argument. We didn't do a pickup order for a few weeks, but when we did is when I asked about the ingredients. We were both present, and I was under the impression that we would eventually ask, but I did blurt it out without warning him from his perspective if he wasn't expecting it. He had if there's tomato in it I guess I'm crazy and I like them attitude during the argument, so I thought he'd be more accepting of the answer. It was kind of an I told you so moment either way because I was right, but I didn't say anything to him before he stormed off. It was pretty much instant. His mom cooked a lot of his food before we moved in together, and he trusts her without question because she knows what he likes. He first tried the stew at his brother's wedding. His mom served it to him on a shallow plate, so not a lot of broth, and you could see the ingredients pretty clearly, and told him you'd like this, and he just kind of dug in. We'd already been dating for a year and a half by then, so I was used to his quirks, but in retrospect it is a little annoying that she got to intentionally feed him and not safe food, and I'm catching all this flack later on about it. He doesn't like cooking because of how often he has to wash his hands while handling food. He also hates washing dishes and is very messy in the kitchen. So if I do make him cook, he'll be very overstimulated the whole time, and I end up with a huge mess afterwards, which is its own issue. It's just easier for me to cook or for us to eat out. I'm not sure what his official diagnosis is. He got all that figured out through the school when he was younger, and they only talk about his autism now. His parents had him in therapy for a while, but he doesn't like being professionally grilled, so once he turned 18, he started declining that sort of stuff. If he's OCD, he doesn't know it, and he won't want to find out. He doesn't really care how the tomatoes come, he hates the entire idea of them. He had them as a kid and has hated them ever since. I'm not sure what the original delivery of that was, maybe chunky pizza sauce? I can't remember. The issue is that for the first 2 years things weren't like this at all before he moved out of his parents' house. His needs were being met really well at home, and it gave him a very whatever attitude when we would hang out because if I didn't have his food, clothes, soap, etc., at my house, he would just wave it off and say he'd stop by his house and get it. But now it's like no matter what I do, I can't replicate that for him, and he's constantly overstimulated and bothered by something, most recently the stew. For a long time, it's felt like if I can get things to that perfect environment back for him, then he'll go back to being the way he was. But I don't know if I'm humanly capable of doing that lately. His parents do pay for some things for him, but not any shared bills. Lots of his clothes, electronics, etc., are gifts from his mom, and she definitely feels entitled to a snippy comment here and there because of that. I was honestly taken aback that his sister was the one to text me, though. We've gotten along really well in the past because we're similar in age. Now it feels like even though he's calming down about the stew, my relationship with his family is fractured and awkward. Therapy is not an option. His parents would buy the stew a few times a month, he buys stuff like that more often now that he's on his own. He was in college while living with them and wasn't working, so lots of his life was dictated by them. Now that he's got his own money, he's very much into treating himself and doing whatever he wants. I would say he has the ability to be functional when he's not frustrated or overstimulated by something. For a long time, he was completely typical, and I didn't even know he was autistic. I'm not dating someone who has, the mind of a child. Just wanted to put that out there, lol. If he does move back with his parents after this, we won't be continuing a relationship. It's part of the reason why he moved out in the first place. While he was living there, they were all very intrusive in our relationship, and it was causing problems for us at the time. He wasn't allowed out past 10 p.m., I wasn't allowed over overnight, he had to be home for Sunday dinner, etc. It was like dating a high schooler. So it's definitely something both of us are trying to avoid. It would be the end. He did move from his parents into my apartment this time, but he's lived alone previously when he was younger. He lived pretty far away from them at the time and was doing an okay job surviving on his own. He looks back on that time fondly. He just graduated, and he's looking for full-time work, but it's been difficult. We don't live in an area super booming in the field he's trying to get into. He's doing part-time work for now so he doesn't have to commit to something serious while he waits for interviews. We're into the same hobbies/fandoms, we used to go to lots of conventions and events before he moved, and he actually did lots of the planning/guiding for stuff like that. Date nights, binging TV and getting takeout, ironic, really sentimental gifts, he would plan and execute that sort of stuff 100% himself. So he can do the boyfriend thing when he's at his best, he's just at his worst lately. Update 5 months later. Transcription of DMs. Redditor. Are y'all still together? Ops response. It's complicated, we're not together, but we're not really fully broken up either. We're separated, but we're still friends and we hang out. He wants to try things over again, but I still have 7 months on my lease and I don't plan on moving him back in its place. We've had a whole thing with management getting him out of the apartment the first time, and it was honestly too embarrassing to ask them to put him back on. So if we move back in together, it's going to be somewhere else. I'm waiting until closer to my lease ending to decide how I'm feeling. I still don't know. Redditor. Has he taken any responsibility yet? Ops response. That is also complicated. We did couples counseling for a few weeks after he moved out, and we talked about a lot of stuff. The stew stuff was really convoluted. It would be really hard to explain succinctly over text, but basically he was wasting money and being ridiculous, and he was doing it on purpose. He liked wasting the money, it made him feel rich. I went over to his house a few months ago and he had cooked the stew himself at home as a way to say sorry, but it really just made me more frustrated. We had a big argument over that, and even though he felt bad for lying to me last year, now he was acting mad at me for not immediately accepting his apology and being thankful for his gesture. After that, we didn't really talk about the stew again. He just glazed over it when I saw him the next week, and things have been sort of weird since then. Basically, he said sorry, but he's not really acting like he's sorry. He's acting like I need to just get over it because he stopped eating the stew and buying figures and lazing around the house. There's nothing to be mad about anymore, so I'm not allowed to be mad at all. I'm supposed to pretend it never happened. I don't know if that really counts as taking responsibility or not. I know he wants things to go back to normal, but I'm not sure I can see him that way anymore. It's unfair of me to keep telling him that what he's doing isn't good enough, but I'm not really sure what I want from him at this point. That's why I don't know if we'll actually be getting back together or not. It depends on if I can get over it by the end of the year. End of transcription. I still get messages about this sometimes, so I thought I would do an update post instead of responding to everyone individually. It's nothing really interesting. I had to basically kick him out right after I made the first post. He lived at his parents' house and then moved in with a friend. He has a job, and his attitude is a little bit better. We went to couples counseling for 3 weeks, but then had an argument and stopped going because it felt like it was doing more harm than good sometimes. We're not really together anymore, but we're more than just friends. It's a weird, nebulous thing that I can't put into words. He really wants to make things work again, and I'm trying, but it's hard to see him the same after everything. I have a few months to feel things out and decide for sure. Probably not what everyone was hoping for, but it's just the way things are right now. /relevant comments. Commenter. Respectfully, run. He doesn't want to fix anything, he just wants to wear you down to the point where you accept this kind of behavior and treatment as normal and okay. Basically he said sorry, but he's not really acting like he's sorry. This tells you exactly what you need to know. He doesn't think he was in the wrong, he's just trying to placate you back into being with him. That's why it felt like couples therapy did more harm than good. It only works if you both want to grow and improve your relationship together. He doesn't want to change or improve, he wants you to get over it and stop talking about the thing he did wrong, so he can go back to acting the same way. Commenter 2. Girl, he does not want to make things work, he wants to have your 70% of the income to waste so he could feel rich. He wants you to accept his BS without trying to fix or change things, even if it's for the better, just like his family has. Stop being more than friends with him, if you can, stop being friends with him point blank. I'm pretty sure it's making him think that he still can get you back and that he can still get what he wants from you, you're just being stubborn about it now. Do not let him wear you down. I don't think this was ever truly about the stew for him. Dating someone neurodivergent doesn't mean you're responsible for their neurodivergent traits, they are the sole person responsible for their own actions and reactions, even if they get triggered or whatever. Second update 4 months later. I forgot this account existed, but I've been getting comments on my update from forever ago out of nowhere. I'm really trying to get over this, so I'm just going to let you guys know what's up and then delete this account off of my phone, I think. We're not getting back together. I haven't even talked to him for months. We tried to take a break to get into a more healthy relationship dynamic, and he pretty much went insane. I have him blocked on everything, and I am moving back home at the end of this year and scrubbing his existence and this entire relationship from my brain. I feel like this has been a huge waste of my life and my time and my energy. Everything I put into building my life these past few years feels like hot garbage that fell on my face. I don't know. He was doing really good for a while and then started drinking again because he's living with a very enabling friend and went off the effing rails. He's not autistic, he has bipolar disorder. He apparently got diagnosed with this in high school and felt ashamed of it because he thinks it's feminine, so his entire family decided to start telling people he had autism instead. I cannot explain to you the sickness I felt when he was explaining this to me. I felt like someone hit me with a car. I feel like a psycho. Everything I know about the facts of his life are supported by half-truths and outright lies. I literally feel so effing played, it's insane. The embarrassment I feel anytime I have to talk about him, or my life at all the past few years, it's crazy. I'm going home, and I'm going to stay with my sister and sub and pretend like none of this literally happened at all. I went to college, I graduated, I moved back home. The parts in between are going to be deleted from my brain. I have had a therapist here for a few years now that I've seen on and off, and I have been seeing her more this year to talk about everything that happened, but I mostly feel talked out on the subject, so I'm not sure if I'm going to get another therapist when I move. Part of me feels like I'll be dragging it all there with me if I start seeing someone new and have to explain everything again, but I don't feel great about moving somewhere new and going cold turkey. If anyone has advice on that, that would be great. /relevant comments. Commenter. Good for you. Thinking bipolar is too feminine and being ashamed because it's feminine? I see a glimpse into the crap show iceberg of his brain. He was always effing insane and scummy, just good at hiding it. I hope your move goes well. Commenter 2. I'm so sorry, this has probably shattered your sense of reality and security. There is a subreddit, r/bipolarsos, that is for those who have a significant other with bipolar. My ex had it, and I started following after he and I broke up. I found it to be incredibly helpful in understanding what had happened through the lens of those who deal with it in their significant other. I wish you the best. And remember that it wasn't your fault.